All right, let's jump right into this explainer. You know that feeling, right? You're driving late at night, making fantastic time, jamming to music, and then you look around and realize you are literally the absolute last person out there on the road. Today, we're plunging straight into the chilling reality of being completely alone on a desolate midnight highway. Because out there in the pitch blackness, the normal rules of society just kind of vanish.
It's this deep, primal fear. The hypnotic, eerie atmosphere of late-night driving can so easily lull us into a false sense of security. But look, we aren't just telling ghost stories here. We are breaking down exactly what makes isolation so incredibly dangerous by looking at 4 entirely true, verified case studies. As you'll see, an empty highway can turn into a living nightmare in the blink of an eye.
Let's start with our first scenario. Threat Type 1, the relentless pursuer. This first case study is wild because it shows how something as completely mundane as a 2 a.m. snack run can escalate into a literal life-or-death chase. So, our narrator is deep into an ADHD-fueled late-night coding session. You know the drill. His focus is peaking, but eventually, biology takes over and he absolutely needs junk food. So he heads out on a 25-minute drive down these totally quiet, empty rural roads to the only place still open, which is a brightly lit, 24/7 quick-check convenience store.
But the second he walks in, something is just deeply off. There's a guy sitting crisscross on the floor at the very end of an aisle, staring dead ahead at a fridge. He's got on a brown coat and jeans. Our narrator tries to steal a quick glance, and the man just whips his head around. His lip is literally vibrating like he's freezing, even though it's actually pretty hot inside the store. He's got this strained posture and just a completely dead, blank stare. Unsurprisingly, our narrator smartly grabs his snacks and gets the heck out of there.
Unfortunately, his night was far from over. He escapes the stare at 2 a.m., but just minutes later, as he's merging back onto that desolate highway, headlights pop up in his rearview mirror, and they are approaching fast. It is the guy in the brown coat, now behind the wheel of a pickup truck, aggressively flashing his lights and honking. This turns into a terrifying high-speed pursuit, hitting speeds of up to 100 miles per hour. The narrator is in a much smaller sedan, absolutely terrified, feeling like he's about to die. He takes his foot off the gas to try and pull over, and boom, the pickup truck violently rams the back of his car. Realizing he's in a fight for his life, he braces for the next hit, swerves hard to the left, and just slams on his brakes. The pickup shoots right past him, loses control, and spins wildly off the highway into a field.
Okay, moving on to Threat Type 2, the coordinated trap. In the second case, we see how roadside predators actually manipulate human empathy to spring a violent trap. Picture this, it's 1 a.m., incredibly isolated, on Route 82 near the Lincoln National Forest in New Mexico. The driver is 25, running a late logistics route hauling refurbished PC parts. He hasn't seen another soul for miles. Suddenly, his headlights catch a red hatchback parked awkwardly on the gravel shoulder. The hazards are flashing, and there's a distressed young woman frantically waving her phone.
So let's break down exactly how this ambush works. Step 1 is the lure. Thinking of his own sister, the driver wants to help out, so he slows down. He happens to be carrying a holstered Glock 43, which gives him enough confidence to stop. That leads to Step 2, the intruder. He cracks his window, and the woman, whose voice is all jittery and slurred, begs for a ride. He unlocks the door and lets her in. But then we get Step 3, the reveal. The driver glances back at her hatchback, and to his absolute horror, a man steps out from behind her car where he'd been hiding the whole time. At the exact same moment, another guy steps right into the road 50 feet ahead, gripping a long pipe or bat.
The driver's survival instincts just take over. He floors it, tearing out of there. But the woman in his passenger seat starts yelling and digging frantically into her purse. Assuming she's grabbing a weapon, the driver draws his Glock, rests it on the steering wheel, and completely freezes her in her tracks. He drives a super tense 30 minutes to a busy truck stop in Artesia, physically yanks her out of the cab, and peels away. But wait until you hear what she left behind, shoved deep into his passenger seat cushions. A burner phone battery and a sealed pack of zip ties. Yeah, a terrifying glimpse into exactly what those men had planned for him.
Now let's look at Threat Type 3, rest area ambushes. What's really crucial here is how these next 2 cases shatter the whole illusion of safety at desolate rest stops. We all have this expectation of 24/7 rest areas, right? Bright lights, safety, a convenient little oasis on a long trip. But the reality after dark? It can literally be deserted lots, idling windowless vans, and people lurking in the shadows. Our first rest area case happens in western Kansas on Route 400. Around 10 p.m., a woman wakes up while her husband is pumping gas at a tiny, isolated station. She heads inside to use the restroom, but she makes one massive mistake. She leaves her phone in the car. Inside the stifling 80-degree restroom, she finds a bizarre woman just staring at her. After a super tense standoff where the victim hides in a stall, the stranger fakes leaving, like she literally opens and slams the heavy bathroom door to make it sound like she walked out. But the victim is paralyzed with fear because she can still hear the woman breathing inside the room.
And the description of this stalker is just pure nightmare fuel. Sticky, unkempt gray hair, wearing a thick purple and green winter coat in 80-degree summer heat, and walking with this ominous, soft slap of foam flip-flops. This stranger faked leaving the bathroom not once, but twice, playing this agonizing game of hide-and-seek. The victim finally makes a run for it, using a large man at the checkout counter as physical cover to get outside. And when she does, she spots the stalker crouched by the entrance, holding what looked like a knife, ready to pounce. Our second rest area story happens in mid-January on I-80 East. A 24-year-old auto parts driver pulls off at one of those desolate blue rest area signs just to shake off some highway hypnosis. He goes into this small brick bathroom, noting the weirdly rattling heater, and it's totally empty. But when he walks back out to his truck, the only other vehicle in the whole lot, which is an old, dirty, windowless white van parked way in the back, has suddenly flipped its headlights on. No engine sound at all, just blinding lights. He immediately gets a terrible feeling, jumps in his truck, and gets back on the highway. But 5 minutes later, those same two headlights pop up in his rearview mirror. The white van is tailing him at 75 miles per hour. It pulls up alongside him, and the driver rolls down his window halfway, pointing wildly at the victim's truck bed like something is dangerously wrong. But think about it. Why would the van driver point frantically at a completely empty truck bed? It was a total fake-out, a psychological trick to get him to pull over. And when our driver refused to stop, the van aggressively swerved in front of him and brake-checked him to a dead stop right on the shoulder. So the victim violently swerves past the trap, hits the gas up to nearly 90 miles per hour, and makes a desperate dash for a crowded truck stop 20 miles down the road. He runs into a brightly lit diner, visibly shaking. A massive flannel-wearing trucker actually steps outside with him to confront the van, which had followed him right into the lot. Inside the van are two guys in hoodies, just staring straight ahead in dead silence, before they suddenly throw it in reverse and speed off. And the terrifying physical proof of what they wanted? 2 dirty hand smudges right on the victim's tailgate. They had actively tried to pry it open in the dark.
All right, which brings us to our survival synthesis rules for the night.
The absolute most important takeaway here is synthesizing the life-saving tactics from all 4 of these cases to empower you. In the highway chase, it was all about decisive, evasive action, literally slamming the brakes to let the attacker fly past. In the coordinated trap on Route 82, the victim trusted his own instincts over a false sense of empathy, drew his weapon, and fled. And in both rest area ambushes, the core principle was never isolating yourself. They waited in silence when trapped, and instantly used crowds or big public spaces as a shield. So let's sum up the core, actionable rules for any late-night road trip. Number 1, keep your doors locked instantly the second you get in the car. Number 2, do not roll your windows down for strangers, no matter how frantic they act or what they're pointing at. Number 3, absolutely never stop on a desolate highway shoulder. If you have to pull over, find a 24-hour, well-lit, crowded truck stop. And lastly, as we learned from that terrifying game of hide-and-seek in Kansas, always take your phone with you to the restroom. Guys, these rules matter so much because when isolation turns dangerous, your preparation is quite literally your only lifeline. Which leaves us with one final thought to chew on before you take your next midnight drive. If you were the only car left on a dark highway tonight, would you really know who is driving behind you? Trust your gut out there, keep your head on a swivel, and safe travels.